First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And welcome back to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. We get to have a lot of different conversations here on this show, but one thing we always like to keep you up to date on are different threats related to cybersecurity. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of people that are trying to steal information, and now we have learned that there are a number of mortgage companies that have been hacked, have had security breaches, information's been taken, and that includes information about customers. So if you have a mortgage, that could be you. I think it's me. So we're going to talk about this, about what exactly happened, what you can do about it, what you can do to protect yourself, all of that right now with Pete Nicoletti, who has joined us here many times before to talk about this. Pete from Checkpoint. Thanks for joining us here, Pete. Really appreciate you, as always, being here on the show.
My pleasure, Greg, and hope to make you and our viewers a little bit more secure in 2024, because right now it's not looking good. The trends are not looking good, Greg.
It seems like that, and it seems like it's always just the people who are figuring out how to make these hacks are getting bigger and bigger and more bold and able to do more, despite everybody trying to keep up with them as well. And this one in particular is pretty alarming, because I think you would think, at least in my mind, that a company like a mortgage companies, banks, things like that, that they would be very secure, something that's almost unhackable, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, they absolutely try, but the hackers know that that information is extremely valuable. And what we're seeing not only is an uptick in trends, from 2022 to 2023, we saw 16%. We're seeing a 20% raise in ransomware. And, here's the bottom line. The criminals are not getting caught. The money's being transferred in Bitcoin. It's relatively untraceable. We're seeing the first lawsuit that might actually trace a wallet. So that's kind of interesting. It happened today, but that's going to be rare. So there's a bunch of things that we can do to deal with this, but 0.05% of cyber criminals are caught and prosecuted. So they know that it's an easy crime. They're doing it from countries that we don't have extradition treaties with. So they sit there, they make their money, then they sell their information. And so, Greg, really what we have to worry about is what we call double extortion. The initial extortion of the company that's hacked by ransomware, that's phase one. Hackers then take that information and then use that information against the people whose information was stolen. So they're opening up new loans. They're requesting IRS tax refunds. They're opening up new bank accounts. So there's a bunch of things that we can talk to about your viewers on how to protect themselves, because several million accounts have just been hacked with those three mortgage companies.
Yeah, and I think I definitely want to go through what those specific things are that people can do just to understand, though, what happened. So they're double dipping. They're getting money out of the mortgage companies once they get in there, and then they're able to take that other information and do all those other things you were talking about. Can you just tell us, I guess, for anybody who doesn't know, what the mortgage companies were, which ones were that we know that had the breaches?
Sure, it was Loan Depot, it was Mr. Cooper, and there was one other. Oh, I don't have it on my screen right now, but it was three. We'll send it to you so you can post it on your site, because I just got my letter from Mr. Cooper, and it was all apologies. We're so sorry. We really take your security seriously, yeah. But it's yet another failure. And just like you said, they do spend a lot of money. There is a lot of compliance requirements for mortgage companies. There's new SEC requirements that require disclosure within 72 hours. So, the government's trying, but these mortgage companies and banking companies, their estates are huge. The number of technologies that they use are huge. And sometimes, like in the case of the recent 23andMe breach, it was all because of people reusing their password. So the company had nothing to do with it. Now, these loan companies, they were hacked and the information was stolen. But, we have a lot of operating systems that have vulnerabilities. We have a lot of other security companies that actually have vulnerabilities that have been exploited. So the very technology that these companies are depending on to protect them has 0 days and they're being exploited. So it's a pretty crazy world out there, and we're seeing the trend continue. So as a consumer, there's not a lot you can do to deal with those companies other than perhaps voting with your feet. If you have the possibility of selecting, perhaps a company that hasn't been hacked, that might be the only thing. But the big thing the viewers need to be aware of is how these criminals exploit that information. What we're seeing, Checkpoint Research is seeing an uptick in uh, hackers going to the IRS and opening up and getting a refund in, ahead of time before, the real person gets their money. So talk about really frustrating if you've overpaid the IRS and all of a sudden that refund is going to Russia or something is pretty bad. So here's the thing to look for. The IRS has an anti-fraud page that every one of your viewers should really look at. So that's number one. And the things that it talks about is the IRS will never send you an email, okay? Unsolicited email. If you get one of those emails that looks like it's from the IRS, ignore it and go directly to the IRS website and see what's going on there and then talk to somebody. I know you might be on hold for a little bit. It's exciting being on hold with the IRS, but if you suspect any issue, you better square that away. So that's
Do you,
number one.
I was going to say, is this something that anybody should do if they found out that their information was taken from one of these mortgage companies? Should they automatically go there to the IRS website and check to see if anything has been happening on their account?
It wouldn't be a bad idea. It's kind of a prudent thing. I mean, the other prudent things are making sure that you're not reusing passwords, that you're setting up all of your accounts with two-factor authentication so that if you do make a change, the hackers, they have your email address, they may have your password. Well, what a lot of consumers do is they reuse that email address and password. And what these hackers have are AI-based tools that automatically go to the top 500 websites and try to log in with those stolen credentials. So if you're reusing credentials for 2024, you've got to stop doing that. Every website needs to have its own credential. And then any website, especially the financial ones, set up two-factor authentication and also really pay attention if you get a notice from one of those banks or financial institutions saying, hey, somebody just changed your information. Well, if you didn't change it, you have to react immediately. You have to react within minutes. Now, with credit cards, you have, credit card laws that protect you against uncharged, things that you're not charging. You have 30 days to check your statement. But on uh, debit cards, you don't have that level of protection. So credit cards and debit cards a little bit different. The IRS, like you said, Greg, go out to that website, go ahead and make it a 2024 resolution to use a password manager. Go out to the IRS, look at the anti-fraud page that they have out there. It's super easy to find, and it'll say, hey, we're never going to send you an email unless you have an established relationship with the IRS and you're expecting it from somebody. Things like that, just so you're aware, because the hackers are exploiting this information as we speak.
It's just wild how much is out there and what potential that has. I mean, the changing the password is certainly something that everybody should, yeah, definitely be doing. What are some other things that you think people should know about this particular hacker and maybe what they can do to help protect themselves if their information was taken?
So the other thing to do is go out to a website. Have I been pwned? Now, here's a hacker word for you. I'm going to teach you a hacker insider word. Pwned, P-W-N-E-D, means you are hacked. So a security researcher, a really smart guy, took all of the breaches that were out on the dark web and he aggregated them together. So he has a couple billion records of people's information that was breached, name and password. And now he also has cell phones in there too for SMS messages. So go out to Have I Been Pwned, PWNED.com, look up your email and see what websites have been compromised with your email and immediately change the password on those, especially if you're sharing a password. So Also use a password manager. The other thing that a lot of lazy people do, and I've been guilty of it for some low security ones, is using your browser password manager. That's not a good thing. That's not a best practice. You really want to use an external password manager, and those are really fun to use because they work cross-platform. So when you're logging in on your laptop at home or your computer on the road or your phone or whatever, that password manager is going to manage the passwords for you. They're going to give you a longer, more complex password than perhaps you would pop in there, and it will manage the passwords in an encrypted way. If somebody takes, we're hearing a lot of elder abuse stories, especially through the holidays, Greg. It was terrible. I heard two or three that were just terrible. People being, their elders being abused, and they click on a link, and then that hacker owns your computer. They immediately look at all your passwords over in the password manager of your Microsoft or your Firefox or whatever your browser is. They snag those, and it's game over. They're starting to extract money from your 401k. They're starting to take money from your Coinbase account or your Fidelity account or whatever, Bank of America. They have your password, and then they can redirect those emails to their emails and then take money from you. So password managers, two-factor authentication. The other thing is all of these three hacked companies are going to be offering credit monitoring. So don't ignore that offer. Go ahead and sign up for the credit monitoring. Right now, I have 6 of those. And it's interesting because some of them see things sooner than the other. So there's, all the other, there's Credit Sesame, there's Credit Karma, there's tons of them out there. And then there's the ones that the credit company is going to sign you up for. Go ahead and sign up for that. Get them to start monitoring not only changes in your credit, but also if information about you shows up on the dark web, it's going to say, hey, this information just showed up. It might not be from that particular loan company's hack. It might be some new thing that you didn't even know about. So you need to be able to react to that. And the other thing, Greg, that I've been telling people, especially around the holidays, if you're the most computer savvy person in your family, share that knowledge, all right? And share that pessimism and share that spider senses with the older people in your family or in your community or neighbors, because what we're seeing is veterans and older folks taken by these schemes more than the newer tech savvy people. So for 2024, if you're the guru, spread your love, spread your knowledge, and help your family out. Make it a dinner conversation, secure yourself up, do the best you can for your family in 2024.
That's great. All great advice that you've just shared here with that. So, good things to know about. So, two-factor authentication. Don't use your browser to secure your passwords. Use a third-party application to do that, or a third-party vendor for that. And then, let other people know about what's going on. Because I think that's one thing that we've always talked about here for any of these cybersecurity threats is we all know there's a certain family member or family members or friends that are not as computer savvy and will not know to do this and are more vulnerable, and you definitely want to prevent that kind of abuse from happening. So, Pete, as always, really appreciate you sharing all of this. Anything else you want to let people know about?
My pleasure, Greg. Hey, we'll send you that long list and some others because you have the website that people can pop to, and there might be something that we missed and some more details there. I'll put the websites in there so they can click on those links and they'll know that they're good links. The other thing is, the final thing to say is, don't click on things that that are coming in on email. It's still the number one vector that consumers and as well as commercial companies are being hacked through. It's about 89%. So just if you have an Amazon package that's late, don't click on the email. Go to the Amazon website. If the bank owes you a refund, don't click on that link in the email, okay? If you think Microsoft, is expired and you need to click on this to get your Microsoft account, no, 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 no. Delete that, go directly to Microsoft and get it squared away. So email is a sewage pipe, and we got to get used to it.
That is very good to know. Yeah, don't click on it. Well, Pete, thank you very much for joining us. I always appreciate your information and knowledge in this and helping to keep people safe in 2024. I suspect we'll be talking again about something else that's going to be happening. I'm sure there'll be another cybersecurity issue that'll pop up, but at least this one, people know what to do, what they can do, to help try to mitigate some of these issues that happen. So, Pete, as always, thank you.
My pleasure. Stay safe, Greg.
You too. All right, good to talk to you.
Bye.
And so there we go. For everybody who's watching, that is some great information right there about cybersecurity threats, about what you should do if you have one of those. I got one of those letters myself. So now I know what to do. All right, so we have more here coming up for Fox 12 Now. If this is your first time watching, I always say this. You can watch all of our segments on YouTube, on Facebook, and our website, and our apps. So you can go to any one of those and actually follow along and check out all the different segments that we cover. But coming up here, we're at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking to an organization called Pitch Black. It is a group that was formed to help Black entrepreneurs in the Portland metro area pitch their products. Kind of like a Shark Tank style competition. It's coming up on February 7th. They've got the finalists. We're going to talk to the founder about that, about what the organization's all about and what it is that they're trying to advocate for. So we have that at 2 p.m. If you're watching on the website and apps, I've got some more stuff that happens over there. That's where I'm going to head over right now. So I'll be live streaming right there. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, you'll see this video end. And I'll be back at 2 p.m. with more of that. And if we have any breaking news, we'll be here for you with that as well. All right. We'll talk to you on the website and the apps. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.